You might ask why it took 112 episodes to get people who are looking at engineering as a future career, because India produces lakhs of engineers every year, or should I say millions. And while the top tier of engineers do manage to get placed pretty soon, uh, there are a whole lot of people down the line who are still trying to figure their uh, answers too. And then over the last few years, IT has become one of the most important, or the one stream which is most preferred. So instead of getting an IT engineer, we've got a chemical engineer and we've got an electronics engineer. Okay. And we'll try and understand what their motivations are, and we'll try and understand how they got to where they are today. Obviously, it's 4 years of engineering, and before that, it would have been the so-called conventional route, because engineering as a career choice is always something that people are considering, because it's almost like a degree that gets you to where you want to be, like an MBA or something like that. So, welcome to the show. My name is Venugopal. This is episode 112 of My First Job, the podcast. And every week we speak to people from different careers, and we try and understand what drives them, what is it that they're looking forward to. And the youth panel is something that we started in our 25th episode, and we are continuing from there. So today we have Ramkumar and Kishen. So let me give you a short introduction. So Ramkumar is a data scientist, but what he graduated in is electronics and instrumentation engineering at Shastra University. Kishan is working as a junior process engineer, but he finished his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering at Shastra. And his work involves designing industrial processes using software tools. We'll find out what that involves. So Ramkumar, welcome to the show. Oh, you're frozen at the moment. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hi, hello.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Yeah,
I'll,
yeah.
sort of get Kishan in also, and then we'll take it from there. Hi, Kishan.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, sir. Thank you for inviting me for this podcast.
Okay.
It is happy to be here.
Great. So both of you opted for, chemical engineering and for electronics engineering. What were the things that you first
Mm.
considered? So, Kishan, why don't you start off with what your
Okay.
childhood was like, and what were the kind of things that you looked at, and what are your options?
So, believe me or not, like during my ninth or 10th standard, I was saying I wanted to become a doctor. So, that was the main reason I took biomax in my high school, high secondary school. And while I was working towards becoming a doctor, I just realized that that stream is definitely not for me. Uh, at the same, that's definitely because it's scary to know that I would be responsible for many lives if I become a doctor. So then I started reconsidering my options. So I decided that chemistry was one of my favorite subjects in college or
Okay.
in school. So my first option was to go for BSc chemistry. I wanted to choose that, or else then if I so I had an option to go to Nizer University at Patna, Patna or not Patna. I forgot where it exactly is. Then after that, I didn't get into it. Then I
Okay.
chose from something similar to chemistry. So it's chemical engineering. But to be honest, chemical engineering is slightly related to chemistry, but not completely on what we do is related to chemistry. So what we do is the combination of what mechanical engineers, civil engineers, even electronic engineers do. I started liking this, so that's how I
Okay.
got into chemical engineering. And here there are a lot of streams to go into, and I have chosen process engineering.
Okay. Great. So, Ramkumar, what is your entry like? What were the kind of things that you considered before you got into your stream?
Yeah, so From a young age, I had people in my family who was in IT. So I would say that was a great influence in my career right now. And also, from even when I was a kid, I was very much into technology and gaming. So I knew something related to tech is what I want to do and pursue in my life. So even from the starting of my, I would say, higher secondary school or something, I took the decision to take a computer science group so that it will help me to proceed further. And obviously, electronics and instrumentation is not really related to it, but
Okay.
the goal was for me to basically get that college, and I knew I would somehow get into the IT or the tech field after I complete my graduation. And I would say we even had electives and something which we can choose, which can actually alter the stream of how we are going to after our college. So I would say I chose in a way where I can, get things learned so that it would help me in my job career. So I would say I've been having a lot of influence from family side. And also personally, I feel like tech was my forte. And so I choose to do it.
Tech engineering. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So why don't you tell me what were the other things that went through your mind? Was it engineering straight away, or did you look at saying that? Did you even consider having any other option in mind, or it is almost like I need to do engineering. After that, I'll figure out what to do next. Kishan?
As I mentioned earlier, my first idea was to go to do uh, chemistry as my major.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do BSc chemistry, MSc chemistry, and at some point I wanted to become a scientist. Uh, but then after that, I was aiming for 1 year college, which I didn't get into unfortunately. So after that, after thinking what were the other options, I just thought of chemical engineering, and it was fully from my side. I didn't have any kind of influence or people did say like go to IT if you want to go to IT, go into IT sector. Uh, computer science or fields like that would be much useful, but I didn't want to do that. I thought chemical engineering would be interesting, and definitely it's true. Here I found out chemical engineering is much interesting, and if I had gotten into chemistry, I don't think I would be enjoying that as much I do right now. Even though I'm in the starting stages of my career, I think moving on, I can do a lot of things.
Okay. So, did you go through that process of counseling, or what was your path to entering the stream?
Path for also I did JE mains, and I think I got around 91 percentile. And
Okay.
in Shastra, in the college which I studied, uh, there are openings based on JE mains and from the board marks. My board marks were quite low, and I had somewhat good marks in JE. So because of that, I got into chemical engineering at Shastra. Obviously, doing JE means my goal was to go into some kind of NITs or IITs. Uh, I didn't get into that.
Okay.
But if I had tried, I could have gotten some NITs other than NIT Tirchi or maybe NIT Calicut or something. But I didn't want to go that far. Or that time I was scared to venture. So I chose the option which is closer to my house. So I chose Shastra.
Okay. Okay. Great. Ramkumar, what about you? You got through counseling, or was it what is your path to getting admissions?
Yeah, even I have taken the JE mains exam, and we had a quota kind of thing which combines your JE mains as well as your board marks. And that's how I actually got into my college.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, were your first months in doing the course more or less what you expected, or was it very different making the transition from school to engineering?
It was. incredibly different. Like it was completely different. So you know how when you complete school, you have this mindset that okay, I'm going to a college, I'm going to have fun, I'm going to have a good time and everything. So I went in with that mindset. So it was very difficult for me to concentrate and focus on academics. And at the early part where we have to actually do something, I kind of lacked even. So I would say that my mindset of having this mindset that okay, I've stepped into college, and we always have this scenario we get from all the movies and everything that college is fun, college is all happy and everything, right? So that is there still, but when you get to the point of you have to be realistic and you have to put in effort. College is really difficult and it takes a lot of energy from you. So at the early initial stages, I would be honest that it was a little hard.
Okay. What about you, Kishan? What was the chemical engineering field like?
It's almost
Classes,
first year in general. First years in all engineering streams in our college, we had common syllabus. So both myself and Ramkumar studied in the same class as well in the first year, and we had similar courses. I mean, same courses. Uh, as far as engineering is concerned, uh, we'll go into our respective fields from the second year. And for us,
okay,
the problem was, while we are about to enter the second year, COVID lockdown was COVID started, uh, and for my first year, I didn't think it was much difficult for me from my from my view, because also wanted to enjoy my college life. So I didn't
okay.
focus much
What
on.
about parental pressure? Was there pressure from home to take a certain stream, or did your parents leave it to you to decide what happened?
In this case, I would appreciate my parents because they gave me freedom to do whatever I wanted. So when I said I wanted to become a doctor, he said you can. When I said I don't wanted to, and I wanted to do chemistry, they supported me. They were there for me always. So I think there was no pressure for me to do a specific
Okay,
stream. When I said chemical engineering, go do that. You know what you are doing, so you can go do that.
okay. So you didn't have. What about you, Ramkumar? Was there parental pressure, or was it more or less your decision to take instrumentation?
Okay, so before answering this question, I would like to answer the previous question which you asked Kishan. Like you asked him if he had any other choices of or any other streamline of any work,
Right.
something. So I actually was very eager to answer you, but you didn't ask me the question. So the answer for that question is actually, so I actually want to be a politician
Okay.
more than all these things, and it's a very silly reason. So when I was a kid, I used to see in the news and everything. All the PM or CM, everyone, they had five cars in the front and five cars in the back. So the actual reason why I wanted to be a politician at first was that thing. Okay, I thought that okay, these guys are where the whole power and everything lies. So I want to become someone like that. And eventually, obviously, it proceeded to a point where I wanted to be a politician to do, politician to do service to the people. And that will be my answer for that. If you ask me if I wanted to do anything except engineering,
But okay, you can still be a politician, right? There is no
ah,
bar on doing getting into politics after you finish engineering. You'd probably be far better qualified than a lot of people who are into politics at the moment because
yeah,
it's one of those things that is available to you as a career option, irrespective of what your qualifications are.
yeah. I do have that idea in mind. My mother definitely wouldn't approve of that, but I do have that idea in mind.
Okay,
And
we'll get
related to
diverted,
this,
but
yeah.
yeah, but
So I
you
got
know,
it back to the point. Yeah.
a whole lot of professions, what they look like from the outside and what they actually become when you start doing it, are worlds apart. But
Different.
that's a
Yeah.
different story. Okay.
Yeah.
So once you settled on instrumentation, then what were the kind of things that you found interesting, or what were the aspects of the course that drew you in?
Okay. So, as Kishan mentioned, at the first year, it was mostly a common course curriculum. And second year is where we actually get into our courses. And electronics and instrumentation, I would say it was completely new for me. So it was like a whole different thing which I have tried. And what I found interesting in instrumentation and electronics was, of course, you have all these common subjects that you always have had, but you are given a choice where you can integrate the current trending things with the previous ones. So I'll give you an example. So you know how AI and everything is shaping the world right now. So
Yeah.
I never in my life would have imagined that there would be something from AI and instrumentation both related. It was something very shocking to me. So my course involved a lot of automation. So a lot of AI tools and everything. And in general, I would say not fully AI, but a lot of automation happening. So that was something fascinating for me. And other than that, all the electronic subjects, so I would say it's a bit difficult and it's a bit, no, how do you say it? If you ask anyone who has studied electronics, they will give you a few papers which were like the scariest to them. Okay, so they will give you a list. And for example, there is a paper called DSP. So it's a digital signal processing. We even named it degree stopping paper. That's how difficult it is. So yeah,
Okay.
everyone in electronics who have done electronics, you can ask them what DSP is. They will give you this explanation instead of what it actually means. So it was
Okay.
difficult. It was fascinating. It was innovative as well. But still, I feel like I got what I wanted from it, which I could use for my future.
Okay. Great. So, Kishan, what was your experience like of the actual process of studying chemical? What were the kind of things that you liked doing, and what were the difficult aspects? For Ramkumar, it
Chemical
was DSP. For you, what were the kind of things that came in your way?
for me, if you ask chemical engineering, it's not just it's a combination of lot of fields, as I said earlier. So if I am a chemical engineering, I have an option to go into vast fields. Even let's say in AI, there is an opening for me. Chemical engineering, we can combine chemical engineering, AI, automation, because industrial plants require automation. So as a chemical engineer, we have an opening. We have career opportunities in a lot of fields. If I want to become a scientist, yes, I can. But I tried everything. In my bachelor's, I think I tried electrochemical engineering, energy. I used my bachelor's as just as a platform to find out what I actually like, and I found out that my passion is just for I, I just like calculations a lot. So that's how my work is. That's completely what my work is right now. Uh, we do a lot of
Okay.
calculations here. So I used bachelor's as a platform to do that, and there were a lot of challenging subjects which I feared. Similar to DSP, there is one subject we called transport phenomena. Fortunately, it was easier for us due to our professor, but that's it.
It was
Okay.
easier because
Great.
this guy is a topper.
Pardon me?
It was easier because this guy is a topper.
Most-
Yeah, we'll come back to that in the next segment, which is marks and a job. But I'll keep that for the next sector. So you're listening to the My First Job podcast. I'm talking to two young engineers on how they decided what they wanted to do. What has their experience, early experience of the course been? whether there was parental pressure, what are the things that they enjoyed. And as Ramkumar said, he wanted to be a politician. And maybe that's somewhere at the back of his mind, because in his mind, 4 cars in front of you and 4 cars behind you indicates a lot of power. But he'll find out what are the other things involved if he ever gets into politics, because what looks like something from the outside is never what really is when you're on the inside. So, in the next phase of the show, in the next segment of the show, I'll be talking to them about what their how their career aspirations developed, what was their interview to get into a job was like, and what were their first days on the job like, so it's almost like saying, okay, as they mentioned, shift from school to college is one mindset shift, and a much bigger shift comes ahead when you go from college into a job, because that's another phase change. Okay, so let me get Ramkumar in and say, at what point did you start getting serious about thinking of what should I do next?
Okay, so as Kishan already mentioned, you can call us the COVID batch. So
Okay.
most of our college life was spent at home more than in college. So right, like when you have a lot of free time, I wouldn't say free time, but when you have a lot of space around you to think, you think a lot. And COVID, when we went back to college from COVID, I believe it was almost at the end of third year that we went back to the college.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it was, you know, like you're sleeping one day, and all of a sudden, if someone wakes you up and gives you all the responsibilities to do it immediately, that's how it actually felt. And third years are where the placements and everything happen. And third year is where you take the major decision where either you're going for a master's or you're trying for the placements. So I think that's when it hit me really hard. So, and I chose to go for the placements. And it even hit me harder when, people all around you are getting to start getting placed. So that's when I even, got very, very good reality check that, okay, I just questioned myself, okay, Ramkumar, what are you doing now? Everyone else has started running. You are still in your COVID sleep, hibernation. So you have to get up and do something. So I believe that shift from COVID to college, back to college, is where it actually started hitting me.
Okay. Okay. Kishan, what was your um, experience like?
in finding jobs or the first
Yeah. Of
interviews.
even in your mind, you had to kind of shift, saying that, okay, I have to start looking at a career now. Because let's say until the second and third year, you're focused on getting marks and ensuring that you hit a certain CGPA or whatever, and you are a topper, which Ramkumar just told me.
Actually, it's not
So,
true. Maybe it's true when I was in my school. Uh, even we both studied in the same school. In my school, I was kind of a topper, and uh, shift to college was tough because first year I wanted to enjoy, so my grades dropped. Then COVID happened, grades further dropped. Then I had to pull back after after coming into college. It was easier for me. Being in the classroom environment helped me a lot. But then after coming into college, we had to choose what we have to do next. We
yeah.
came up in the third year, and people started talking about masters and everything. At that time, I didn't have any idea of what I want to do. So maybe in my third final year was the time when placement started. uh, there were I think 50 people in my class. Around 40 of them didn't want to go into core at all. They didn't
Okay.
want chemical engineering. So they were like, give me a job. If I get a job, it's enough. But uh, I just wanted to go into core, so I didn't go into any non-core interviews or any non-tech jobs. So At that time, I didn't get much of interviews. So I think in my life, I've attended two or three, maximum three
Okay.
interviews, and I failed it. In my current job, which I'm doing right now, I didn't require an interview because this is where I did my final year project. During the final year, we have to spend 4 or 5 months on a project. I did my project here, and I got joined the same company afterwards. So that shift was not tough for me. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. So I want you to kind of cast your mind back to the point at which this thing called work comes in. So, in your mind, what is work? Because you've seen your parents or your mother or parents go to office and then they tell you your father works here. And that is, in some sense, it is a parent or people you know who go to an office and then do something there. They could be answering phones, they could be working on a laptop today, or they could be sending letters. Or in your mind, what is work like?
Okay. So I'll put it like AD and BC before joining and after joining. So on AD, I would
Okay.
say, uh, you know, you see in all the movies and everything where they hack and everything, right? So there will be some code running in your computer and you'll be
Yeah.
going, doing some coding or something. I thought like it was fully coding, 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 coding. But it is not. Okay, so this is the AD part, okay? Like the before part. So I thought it's simply doing something related to coding. You know, you don't have to think much or something. And when I got to a work, when I actually started working, I realized there is a lot of other aspects which come into play as well. So even starting from, I know it's the same like you go to school from 9 to 5, and you can also go to work from 9 to 6. It's the same almost 8 to 9 hour shift, but still it feels different when you go to work than when you go to school. Like if you ask me, I would say to go to school, I was very excited. To go to work, I was not as excited I was, in school, but
Yeah.
I felt like it was more of a, responsibility to do so.
Okay.
So yeah. And at that point, I would say the after part, it was completely different. So along with the work that you do, there were a lot of social aspects which come into play as well, like meetings and a
Yeah.
lot of brainstorming and just sitting along with people in your cubicle. It itself was a different experience from school. So you just,
Right.
you obviously have a lot of elements which match. Like you have fun and you can have a good chat with your school friends as well as colleagues and everything. But the environment is, I think, which plays a very major different role. That has the major difference. And of course, coming with all the responsibilities. So I would say it was very, interrelated as well as very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So, Kishan, what was your experience, your perception of what work was like and what the actual experience was?
Actually, I didn't have any idea on how works would be, what work would be related in chemical engineering, because most of the people who graduate from chemical engineering, they choose industrial jobs like process engineering. They have to work in industrial plants, overlook all the processes that are taking place. But I didn't go into that field. I just wanted to sit in a place and work. So that's how I got into process engineering, which I'm in right now. And expected, and my company, as of right now, is a very small company which comprises of just 5 people, headed by a man who has vast experience in chemical engineering. So, and he is aged 85. Uh, so working under him was really nice. And I don't have any experience or expectation of how work would be in a much bigger company right now. So when I see,
Okay.
as Ram mentioned, there will be a lot of brainstorming or meetings taking place. We don't have that kind of work here. if anything we want, there are two chemical engineers and two mechanical engineers overlooked by the CEO. So we don't have those kind of meetings. It's just between the four of us. We don't have much expectations of what work could be, what the next kind of work could be for you.
Okay, fine. So let's talk about what your first interview was like and what your first day on the job was like. Give me instances or what were the kind of questions. Do you remember your interviews and do you remember what it felt like when the first few days or weeks of getting into the actual job?
Sorry, can you repeat it? Your audio was cut for a
Yeah.
few seconds. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
what was your experience of the interview like? What
Okay.
happened at the interview? What were the kind of
Mhm,
questions? And then after
mhm,
that, when you actually joined the job, what is it like during the first few days or weeks?
mhm. So even like Kishan, I also have very few experiences since we're just you know, just out of college. So I would say I had two experiences in interviews. The first one was it was for a edtech company, and the role was completely different from what I was doing. So it was a business development kind of a role. So for
Okay.
that, we had like three rounds. So that business development role majorly required you to have, good communication skills and everything. So the first say, two rounds were video and audio interviews, where there was no person-to-person communication. It was something like you have to record yourself and put it out in the data. So they will screen it and everything. And when the third round is where you had the person-to-person interview. And my first interview, I was very, very scared actually. So I was very nervous and very scared because that was the first interview that I have ever attended in my whole life. And luckily, the person who took the interview made sure that I was, calm enough to do it and made sure that I was not very nervous. The questions, I would say, it was mostly related to the field. So that job required a lot of marketing and a lot of communication work to be done. So it was more of like how you have to do marketing and everything. So there were questions like how would you sell this product, and how will you communicate between a group of people, and
Okay.
if you were a leader or something, how would you lead a team? It was something like that. And that was a different field. And the field right now for this, we and Kishan, we have, the same thing in this as well. So I had to do a final year project. So the company which I did my project is the same company I'm working in right now. So luckily I had to attend the interview back when I was in college. And that interview was mostly like, because they know that you are in college and there is a sufficient amount of knowledge that you know right now. So they made sure that I was comfortable as well. So I'm very happy that both the interviewers were not as strict as I expected them to be. So they asked questions like, general tech questions, I would say. So they would take a topic. So the role was something like a data scientist. So junior data scientist in intern or something. So they ask questions like, what do you know about computer vision? What do you know about AI, ML? And if you were given a, task to automate something, how would you do it? And it was questions like that. And that's how I got into that role. So I have two experiences in interviews, and these are the two experiences.
Okay. Great. I think that's illustrative. What has your experience been, Kishan?
Okay. Uh, as far as now, I've attended just two interviews, and for starting of my second interview was like just for namesake of an interview, which a person conducted over a call, and after that, I didn't get any kind of response from them. And the first
Okay.
one is for a core job, which was through college placements, and similar to that, we had I think two rounds of interview, not interview, one round of test and another interview round, which was all conducted in the same day. With the test, they segregated or they selected 5 to 10 people for the interview, The test was on morning, and the evening interview was conducted on the evening. This was my first interview. I entered into the hall. There are four people sitting in front of me, and there is a person standing at the back of me. I was terrified.
Okay.
It's my first interview, so and the questions were
They were
based on
grilling you. They were asking you a lot of questions. What
there
are
were just
the
two people asking questions. It was based on first basics of chemical engineering. Like there were five, I think five kind of job openings in the which was in the company, and I chose for what I'm doing right now, like design field, and the questions were based on that. I think the interview went for 20 to 30 minutes, and the questions were mostly on basics of chemical engineering, like fluid mechanics and industrial
okay?
sector jobs. And then they moved on to some complex things, and I failed that interview. So,
Okay. So, what was your experience of the job itself? The first few days, did you
first
find it
few days,
strange? How did you get adjusted to the job and the role?
since I did my project here, for I think I spent 4.5 to 5 months here prior to starting my job. Uh, on my eighth semester, we came to Chennai. I booked an hostel here. So those 5 months, I had to familiarize with the people around there, and it was just five people, so it wasn't tough for me. And after doing that, I took a month and a half break. Then I rejoined here. So the first few days, it wasn't like odd or something to me. It was completely natural because I've already been here for like 4 or 5 months, so nothing was new. But there was new responsibility which I didn't have as a student. I had to work, and this was for they are paying me to work with that point was new. And before that, I was a student, and after that, I didn't feel like a student. But there are parts I still I can learn a lot from the my CEO right now. That's it.
Okay. So, Ram, what was your first? You mentioned that you were doing a project, and that project helped you to finally get into the job itself.
Mhm.
So, what were your
So,
first days as a data scientist like? Were you given data to analyze? Were you told what to do? What kind of conclusions to draw? What happened?
okay. So at the beginning, I would say when I joined the project thing, like with just the intern, so I did it mostly from home. So the actual work started when I went back and joined as a data scientist. So at that time, it was mostly, they gave me stuff to learn. So since I was just fresh out of college and everything, I cannot definitely do what they are doing right now in the live projects and everything. So
Right.
they know that, even I myself know that. So they gave me a lot of stuff to learn and they gave me time as well. So I would say I'm really appreciative of my manager for that because he gave me, key pointers and you have to learn this, you have to learn that and everything. So I would say I started from the basic. So even though I have done, language courses, the Python and everything, my manager told me this clear statement. So whatever you learn in college, it's just the surface level. And whatever you do when you get inside a project, it's something really new that you'll be doing. But doesn't mean that since it's new, you can't do it. It's definitely doable. Only thing you have to put in effort. And he told me this thing as well. So the starting I mentioned I was learning, right? So in few months, not even few months, in a couple of months, he put me in a project. And the same manager who told you have to put in efforts and you have a lot of difference came and told to me that, see, there are two types of learning. So one is which you learn and then apply. And the next one is where you continuously learn while applying. So I have to adapt to that as well. So that's how I would say my early days were. And apart from work related things, I would say it was, different, and it was very new for me to get inside this corporate life. So you have that,
Right.
that shift timings and everything. So 9 to 6. or 10 to 7 shifts where you have to log in, you have to log out, you have to do the ID card tap in and everything. And you are, I would say I'm not an introvert. I would say I'm an ambivert. I socialize sometimes and I don't socialize sometimes. So, but since you are in a corporate world, you are almost like forced to socialize. So, and it was a little challenging for me. I wouldn't say it was difficult, a little challenging to socialize. And at the starting, people made sure that I was comfortable enough, and people, they themselves have approached me and said, "Hi, who are you? Like, what are you doing right now?" And I got a lot of advice, I would say. So I would be sitting simply doing something. All of a sudden, some random guy will pop up and he will be like, "Oh, you're learning these things. Nice. You should also learn this." And he'll just leave. So that was something new for me. Okay. So that's how my,
Okay,
starting of the job was.
experience has been. Okay,
Yeah.
great. You're listening to the My First Job podcast. I'm speaking to two young engineers about careers in engineering. They spoke about what their interviews were like, what their first days on the job were like, the difference in moving from college to a job. And each of them has had a slightly difficult interview as well as an easy one. But I think what comes through is the attention that they paid to their projects, because doing the project itself ensured that the company felt that this is a resource that they would want to, appoint. They want this person to join. And I think that's one of the lessons that people who end up just getting projects for the sake of marks versus actually learning, that is a major difference. And if you were to, and I've heard this from several corporate leaders as to why that project needs to be taken seriously rather than just do it for the sake of marks. So it's not the marks are important, but the learning is even more important. So take something that may be difficult, that may be, but it'll teach you something. And that is what will help people, uh, you know, recognize your talent and your abilities and your skills in order to get there. In the final segment, we'll be talking about expectations, salary, what it means to earn, and where do you go from here? Okay. So, Kishan,
Yes, sir.
salary, was it very important to you saying that, okay, I need to hit a certain level?
As of right now, salary is not a concern for me because, uh, as I said, my parents are very supportive, and to be honest, I don't earn that much. For starter jobs in core, uh, we have been told by all the professors that if you are going into core, don't expect to be uh, like, don't expect much salaries as in people in IT. So at the starting, like if we were to start our careers, we can't expect like lot of high salaries. So I'd say my salary is low, and I am satisfied with my job right now, uh, which provides I can learn a lot from my company right now,
Okay.
which is what I'm doing. And moving on, moving forward, I think uh, 10 15
Just a
years.
quick aside, what are the kind of things you wanted to spend money on? So, let's say you got your first salary. What are the things that you said, okay, let me spend money on this?
Honestly, I my first salary was so low that I just used it for my hostel rent or something like that. But with my first salary, I bought some small gifts for my parents and my family. That's it. That's what I did
Okay.
with my first salary. I couldn't get some lot of things, but memorable little things.
Okay. So let me ask Ram and then come back to you on expectations for the future. Yeah. So what did when you got your first salary, did you negotiate? Did the company tell you that this was the rate? Because most starting salaries are around that 25, 30, 35,000, which is what normally comes in. And then you sort of take a, so what were your expectations and how did you approach that particular part of the interview? And then what was it
Okay.
getting your first salary like? What did you spend it on? The same things that I asked Kishan.
Okay. So since we, got the actual offer from doing the project, the internship, we had not much scope of negotiation, if I'm being honest. So it was more of a what I'll be working on, what kind of projects which I'll be doing, kind of questions from my side, than what salary I'll be getting. So salary was not given as an, option or choice. It was given as a statement. You will be paid this much. That's how it was given to me, and there was no talks on it.
Okay.
So yeah, and I would say the same point in a different or maybe in a similar way what Kishan said. I personally believe that money right now in at your early career, obviously you will be seeing some of your friends earning more, or some of your friends spending more on everything. But I personally believe that whatever you are experiencing right now, what you're experiencing at the early starting stages of your career, you shouldn't completely focus on your salary, because this experience will help you in the further stages to get you what you actually desire. So I was confident in that. I definitely I wouldn't I would be lying if I say I didn't want much a bigger salary, but I
Right.
did want. But I feel I am content because the learning is sufficient enough, and I am confident from what I have learned that I can be getting something very much what I wanted in the future. So
Okay.
I would
Okay. And
say
what did
that
you spend your salary
I
on?
say,
Did you
and
have certain things that you wanted to do?
so with my first salary, I would say most of my salary went for my rent, and the remaining I actually, took a little amount of money and gave it to my grandparents. And I, the first spend was very funny because I didn't realize my salary got credited. And at that time, a good friend of mine, so they underwent a minor accident. And I thought, okay, they were serious and I was with them. So I did the payment. And after the payment, you get the notification message that debited with this much amount, right? I saw that message, and below that I saw you have been credited with this much amount. So my very first spend the salary was for a medical expense.
Yeah,
So
but it
yeah,
was a
and
good deed, right? You were
it
helping
was a
someone
good
out.
deed. Yeah, I was helping someone, which I am happy about. And yeah, I gave a little amount of money to my grandparents, and I would say I took myself out as well. So I took myself not to a very fancy place, but a normal place, and it felt nice when you spend your own money on yourself for the first time. So yeah, I
Okay.
think dinner and some money to my grandparents. That's it. That's how I spent my first salary,
That's
and obviously most of it to the rent. Yeah.
okay. Kishan, expectations for the future. How are you seeing this? What is it that you want to do over the next 2, 3 years?
Next 2 3 years, as of right now, I have applied for masters abroad for a few European universities. So I hope to do masters in chemical engineering, and after that, I actually don't know. I just want to work, and maybe 10 or 15 years later, uh, I hope to have my own consultancy firm. So I don't think a lot about future. Uh, it's been like that always. In my final year, I thought I wanted to do a masters, but I don't want to go outside of India. So I tried gate examination twice and failed twice. So it was and the marks were like I was short of one, and for this 1 mark for qualification. And if I had qualified, I could have gotten into NITs for masters. And for the second time, uh, uh, I got 0.1 or point 0.2 marks less. So I got fed up. And after coming to joining my company here, I decided that I wanted to do masters and I wanted to try outside of India. So I have applied to university, and it's a
Okay.
decision which I took, which I've been taking for the past 1 year. And right now I've applied. So hopefully I will get into a master's, get into a university, and I will do my masters. And after and all the courses I've applied were for 2 years. And after 2 years, I actually don't know what I want to do. Maybe I could go for PhD, but I have no idea about that right now. I'll use my masters to decide. Okay, if I want to do PhD, I'll continue, or if not, I just uh, do a job, work there, and then save up enough money, come back to India, and start making from. That's my
Okay.
future expectations right now.
Fine. What about you, Ram? What are your expectations for the next couple of years? Are you sure that data uh, analysis is something that you really enjoy and it could become a long-term career?
Okay, so I would say I would maybe still be working for the next couple of years because right now I am in the hottest field right now. The AI and the ML and the Gen AI field. This is the current hottest field right now. And I really started to like what I'm doing right now. So if I proceed I initially had plans of doing masters, and my plan was mostly to do something like a managerial study, like an MBA or something. And it requires a lot of work experience as well. Not a lot, but you do need some work experience to get into good universities. So I would say for the next couple of years, I would be working in the same field. And right now, since I have taken really started liking this field even much more than I used to. So me as a person, I feel like I would, travel in the waves of where the life takes me. So
Okay.
the next 2 years, I'll be working for sure. And after that, I would be taking a decision either to go for a master's in the same field so that the experience which I have put, all these years doesn't go to any waste, or I will be doing a managerial study. And I would say I'm literally discovering myself right now. So I'm not exactly confident on what I'll be doing the next, what I'll be doing as a master's. So I would be
Okay.
answering to this question that I'll be working for the next couple of years.
So give me an
Yeah.
example of how you mentioned that when you saw that Gen AI and AI can be used
Mhm,
for automation and instrumentation, that
mhm,
was a
mhm,
discovery. So give me an
mhm.
example of a place where it is being used and what you found you could take things forward based on that.
Okay, so at the starting, I would say I used to think, okay, where can AI be applied? And eventually, when I started seeing all those companies and everyone adapting AI, and when I really researched into it, you can literally use AI everywhere. Even if you need an example, I'll give it to you. So this podcast that you're doing right now, right? Even this
Yep.
can be done by AI. You
Yep.
can have three bots in the in the chat, and you can make
Yeah.
all of these three bots interact with themselves. So
Right.
the capacity of AI is unlimited right now, and it
From
initially
something you
started with
have been doing, Ramkumar, what you have
yeah.
done in terms of
Okay.
applying AI to whatever you're doing,
Okay.
I want an
Okay.
example too, so that people understand what the automation is like in
Hmm.
instrumentation.
Okay.
Because yes, it
So
can be used for several, no
mhm.
doubts or no, arguments about that. But I want to understand how you have applied it and what has the
Mhm.
net result been.
Okay. So in college, I did the AI work, integrated with instrumentation. In work, I'll give you another example. So in college, so obviously electronics and instrumentation in AI, which I thought couldn't be related, was possible. So there was a, process of, screening electronic results, some results, okay, some data. And for that data, there was a confusion there was a manual work to be done, and it's a repetitive process. And so we did the project on that. So me and my friend, along with my staff who undertakes this, so we had an idea and we thought, why not include machine learning into this? And so, in order to provide data to the machine learning model to process and give out an output, we had to, do a complicated process of generating data from the outputs. Okay, so it was fully
Okay.
signals and outputs like data like signals and everything. So it will be in some numbers, some random numbers, and we achieved that. And we put that into a machine learning model. We used to train the data. We train the model with the data, and with that we achieved a automated, results giving model kind of thing. So, which, I would say was not completely possible before, but it was achieved. And that was something which I did in a project as in college and in work. So, I'll give you my very first project. It was an interesting project for me. So, every companies have to do the auditing and everything, right? So you
Yep.
have to do the auditing, which is a mandatory SOP. So
Right.
we found out that in our company, there was a similar pattern of percentage of auditing results that we were getting. So it was a more of a, not a founded out use case, but it was a required use case where you had to apply AI to this. So we thought, why not automate this process? Why not automate the process of auditing itself? So our data was something like all the previous years auditing data, and we achieved a model. And in the model, usually states that it's not a negative result or a positive result. It gave us the probability of this particular audit is failing or this particular audit is passing. And with
Right.
that, what we did was we took a particular amount of data, which we'll be sending again to the auditing team, and we'll be doing it on our own side as well. And we did a comparative analysis. And later on, we made a bot which will automatically do this process, which will be further sending it to the auditing team, as well as doing it by ourselves, so that there are two results, and combined will be coming to an automated, machine learning AI generated result, which considerably, it gave us a result of more than 20% improvement from all the previous years. So this was a
Okay.
major achievement in our company. And apart from that, I have worked with the Gen AI products like LLMs and everything, like what you're doing for ChatGPT, what the ChatGPT works
Right.
based on. Yeah. So I was doing something like that as well. So I created a known chatbot for our company assistants as well. And there are certain this in this products which I would like to explain. I will be talking about AI the whole day if you ask me to, but I guess this I'll stop right there. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you both for coming on the show. It's been great talking to you and understanding where you
Yeah.
came from, what are the things that you experimented with, where you've reached so far, what are the things in future. So, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. And here's
Yeah.
wishing you the very best for the future and
Okay.
progress along career lines, along learning, and everything that you would like to do for the future. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
Thank you. Daniel.
Okay, great. So that was about careers in engineering. We had two young engineers talking to us today. Next week, we'll be back with another guest, another career story. Until then, keep learning, keep sharing, keep listening, and keep spreading the word.